This is Pilates Master Nikki. Today we're going to talk about a biggie. We're going to talk about fear. Where does fear come from anyway? Fear is an intense human emotion by a perceived threat or danger. It's an evolutionary mechanism that was designed to protect us. Biologically, fear originates in the brain, specifically in the amygdala. That fight or flight assessment triggers a release of stress hormones, adrenaline, and cortisol, and it prepares the body for that flight or fight. Prolonged fear is a negative for the body and also for the brain. Biologically, the brain is hardwired for survival. Things that give us fear are lack of control, the unknown, past pain. It can transform fear to a paralyzing force. The most common fears are fear of bugs, ectomophobia, fear of heights, acrophobia, drowning, aquaphobia, fear of blood and needles. Oh, I hear you, Jane. Trypanophobia. Small spaces, my favorite, claustrophobia, fear of strangers, xenophobia, and yes, fear of the number 13, tridiscophobia. Fear of fat is known as anorexia, and anorexia, while it can be severe, can be cured. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you in class. This is Pilates Master Nikki. As we continue our dive into fear, today we're going to talk about forms of fear. So there are many kinds of fears, but there are basically three forms of fear. One is a rational form of fear, which is an appropriate protective response to an immediate threat or a presentation of danger. Like an example, avoiding a hazardous fall. If you're walking on something that's high up and you have that fear, that's a good protective fear. Then there's the irrational fear, also known as a phobia. So that's an extreme, exaggerated fear, disproportionate to the actual threat. The other kind of fear is social and emotional fear. That's a biggie. It's a deep, deep-rooted fear, and it's around vulnerability. Fear of rejection, fear of failure is a big one. Fear of not being enough. Fear of not knowing and of not being in control. That's a big one for a lot of people. Fear to take action, so you're going to find that procrastination, that inventing a million excuses. People that are overly pessimistic are people that are usually very deeply fear-based, people that have a lot of anxiety or jealousy or anger. So those are manifestations of fear that you would say, gee, that person has a horrible temper. And you wouldn't think that underneath all that screaming and yelling is really a scared little boy. But yeah, a lot of excessive anger or jealousy or irrational kind of spurges of emotion are deeply rooted in fear. We're going to look at some of the cures for that and ways that you can navigate that for success. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'm only afraid if I don't see you in class. This is Pilates Master Nikki. As we talk about fear, we've got to talk about Buddha says. What does Buddha say about fear? So Buddha says that fear stems from the attachment, from the ego, when one claims that something needs to be permanent, when one refuses to see that everything is temporary. Wealth, status, youth, love, life itself is temporary. That feeling that comes from seeing this clearly, that fearlessness of knowing that everything is temporary, to live into the moment and to adapt moment by moment and agree to enjoy things as you have them. That attachment, that aversion to attempt to protect the ego from losing something that's dear to you, that illusion of control. We forget that everything is constantly changing and nothing stays the same. Buddha says to dismantle your fear, you need to directly face your fear. You need to assess it, look at it, just stop for a moment and break it down. Practicing love, radiating love to others. trying to dissolve the walls of separation, that this is mine and this is me and this is for me, trying to see that we're all connected, trying to treat everybody as a part of a big family, right? If like every old lady you see should be your grandmother. Every little snotty-nosed kid you see should be your nephew, your niece, or your own child. Every arrogant little SOB you see, you should go, oh yeah, I have a cousin Ira that's just like that, right? And try to see them in that state and not take it so personally. Like when you're waiting at the stoplight for the stoplight to change and it turns green, and that split second, the guy behind you starts honking like, gee, dude, give me a second to just like, you know, press on the gas and go. Like instead of getting angry at that, in that moment, stop and go, either that guy's in a horrible hurry and he's late, or his life is so pitiful that, you know, he's so sad and angry and depressed in his life that a light turns green and you don't fly off the accelerator, sends him to a rage to honk the horn. How sad is that to live like that? So stop and try to look at things that happen around you, and you'll see that we're getting angry about things that are important. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'm happy that I'm going to see you in class. This is Pilates Master Nikki. Today we're going to talk about fear and the effect it has on the physical body. Fear takes over the brain and the body in split seconds. The amygdala detects threats or fear, and then the prefrontal cortex sends a rush of hormones flooding to the body, adrenaline, cortisol, and other things. And it accelerates your breathing, it accelerates your heart rate, it accentuates all of your senses. Your pupil dilate, your hearing, your focus becomes more acute, your heightened senses turn you into an assessment machine. There is a gut-brain bidirectional pathway. And when you have an intense sense of fear, it can give you nausea. It can give you those butterflies, like, oh my God, here he comes, oh my God, and you're like, your heart is racing and you have that fear, right? It can even make you run to use the potty if you have an extensive shock of fear and it affects you that way. Winston Churchill said that fear is a reaction, but courage is a choice. So that initial splat of fear, it really takes over your body. You know, sometimes you're, let's say, in a little haunted house and an actor jumps out from the darkness and you just react and you throw out your arms and you yell without even stopping to think about it. Like you don't even realize that you've had that reaction. So fear is a hostile takeover of the body. Prolonged fear and those prolonged hormones have negative effects on the body, on the immune system, on the nervous system, and especially on the stomach and on the heart. Those prolonged hormones don't do you good. But the body also releases another hormone that automatically calms you down. And there are tricks. We're going to talk more about that coming up. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you in class. This is Pilates Master Nikki. As we dive into fear this month, we're going to talk about productive paranoia, one of my favorites. So, successful entrepreneurs use this concept. They take the worst case scenario, and instead of letting that paralyze them, they analyze it. And they study their fears, they look at what can be done with artistic imagination, and they build solutions as opposed to letting fear paralyze them. Fear initially is a stop signal. So you want to reframe that signal into an opportunity signal. You want to step out of your comfort zone, and you want to look at life's changes and the massive opportunities that you could have when a situation comes up that is not what you wanted and it starts to put you in a little bit of a panic. Stop that and say, what is the opportunity here that I'm missing? Fear and risk are prerequisites if you want to enjoy a successful and adventurous life. You can't worry about failure. Failure is just a step along the path. You need to instead worry about lost opportunities when you don't even try. So trying and failing is success. Too many people don't live their dreams because they're too busy living in their fears, and they're letting their fears dominate them. Now, I've always said this, that living in your comfort zone is the enemy of courage, right? So you want to come out of your comfort zone, take a risk, calculated risk, a little risky risk, and go for it. When you have that fear that holds you back from doing something that you want, some dream that you want, talking to the person that you kind of have a little crush on, or looking for a new job, or trying something different, what you want to do is you want to pinpoint the resistance. Make a little list. Write it down. When you write it down and look at it, you can dismantle it, you can resolve it, and you can rage ahead and make your fear into a success. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and my success is having you in class, and I'll see you there. This is Pilates Master Nikki. Today we're going to talk about fear and addiction to fear. Yeah, some people are addicted to fear. Fear is a very powerful emotion. It puts you in a state of hyper alert. It's an evolutionary emotion. The brain triggers hormones which have a variety of physical and emotional changes to the body. That adrenaline and cortisol triggers a whole rush of endorphins and dopamine. Enduring something scary, okay, now I'm talking about something scary that can't harm you, like a haunted house, a roller coaster, or a scary movie, a thriller, right? So you endure something scary, like, why are you getting out of the car? You're screaming during a horror movie, right? If you survive that and you get past it and you say, oh, I survived it, I conquered that fear, I'm unharmed, I was unarmed, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment. So there's a little bit of addiction that happens to that sense of fear, talking about non-traumatic fear. Now, obviously people that have PTSD, that, traumatic syndrome disorder, and small children that can't really distinguish between reality and fake may see something scary and they may have a total opposite kind of reaction, and they don't enjoy fear at all. I personally can't stand anything scary. Scary movies, can't take them. Roller coasters, yes, but scary movies, no. So that scariness and those endorphins becomes like a positive emotion. Let's say at work, you're supposed to always behave socially. You're supposed to behave and contain your emotions. But when you get on that roller coaster or you're in a scary movie, you can scream, and it's socially acceptable. So it's a good release of stress. Fear and scary things that are done in a group, like going to a movie or bungee jumping, or roller coasters, when you do it in a group, that fear is extremely bonding. Date nights that have scary movies can lead to hanky-panky, because that excitement and that arousal that you feel during fear is closely linked to sexual excitement. And so you're in that scary movie and oh my God, and you're afraid and you hug, and then that turns into a little bit more and a little bit more. It's called excitement transference. Fear, modified fear that is safe fear, can be good for you, can be rewarding, and can be stimulating. So get out there with your spooky, kooky outfits. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I have some exercises that will scare the pants off of you. I'll see you in class. This is Pilates Master Nikki. Today we're talking about fear, but we're talking about calming the fear. So the brain creates its own chemical to calm fear. It's called endocannabinoids, and they're very similar to phytocannabinoids that are found in marijuana. Yeah. Your body makes them to calm you down after a stress response. After your body has assessed that there's no more danger, it releases this chemical to calm you down. Fear, regular fear, is classically not a phobia. Fear is a natural response to a threat, an imminent threat or danger. A phobia is an exaggerated response to a perceived threat, and that interferes with your ability to function. Like, I have claustrophobia. Some things I can't resist. Like, I can get in an airplane, but I can't get in an elevator. Fear is not to be overcome. fear is to be retrained by retraining your nervous system to respond differently to the same stimulus. So I need to try this myself, of getting into little tiny spaces and breathing and doing the whole thing. So practicing exposure limited and controlled ways to things that give you fear will help retrain your sense of fear. Box breathing also helps slow down the heart rate, which helps you deal with the fear. You know, the box breathing, box 4 corners. So you'll do 4 counts in through the nose, hold the breath 4 counts, exhale through the nose for 4 counts, stay without breath for 4 counts, and then repeat those 4 steps. You can choose any number you want. You can choose 5s and 6s. 4s is a very easy number for you to do. Another technique for calming your fear is challenging your inner narrative. Is your brain building a horror movie of what ifs, what if, what if, what if, what if? So negativity is going to fuel that fear. Objectivity. So stop and assess and think about what it is that you're really afraid of, and start to break it down and catch your little mind projecting that horror movie. Anchoring in the present is another tactic for controlling fear. So when you start to feel that fear coming on, ground yourself and right away say, okay, out loud, say 4 things you see right now. I see a cat, I see a chair, I see a wall, I see a light. 4 things you hear right now. I hear the bird, I hear the buzzing, I hear whatever. 4 things. I'm in the country, all I hear are butterflies and bugs. And this is my favorite. Try to move 5 parts of your body at once, right? Like 5 parts of your body at the same time. And so that will help slow down and dissipate your fear. Or just turn on one of my classes and your fear will disappear. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you when I see you. This is Pilates Master Nikki. Today we're going to talk about fear, the 7 stages of fear, because it has different stages. Interesting enough. The first stage is the trigger. It's that amygdala that detects a potential threat, a stressor. That's number 1. Number 2 is the body freezes, and you may not even realize it. It's an involuntary split-second pause where your brain assesses the situation, your surroundings, and your options. The third is the fight or flight. The nervous system floods your body with the hormones and prepares you, heightens your senses, your focus, accelerates your breathing. It takes the blood and sends it to the center of your core so that you can run faster from the dinosaur that wants to eat you. Number 4 is the actual action, the execution, your primal consciousness, your survival response will go into action. And it happens a lot of times without really sitting and thinking and reasoning. If you have a real threat, you know, like something that's happening that's a negative, like an explosion or a fire or something like that. Number 5 is the evaluation. It's assessing the outcome of your action. Okay, so now you ran. So now you do the assessment, the evaluation, and you say, is the threat over? Should I keep running? Should I come out from underneath the table now? Step number 6 of the fear response is the recovery. The nervous system calms you down and it releases that endocannabinoid, and it brings down your blood pressure, your heart rate, your breath rate, and it returns to a state of homeostasis where it's stable and where you're calm. And then number 7, which you may not even really think about, is the interrogation, the mental processing of the experience. The hippocampus goes, okay, let's stop. What happened there? Where was I? What happened? Why was my exposure to danger like that? And it assesses it and it files it so that it won't repeat again to protect you. Amazing little tool we have, our body. Speaking of body, get to class. This is Pilates Master Nikki, and I'll see you soon.